My biggest problem is starting series and not finishing them. It's supposed to be enemies to lovers, but I don't think it really is. You have to be rooting for this romance in order for a romance to work. I'm finding it just annoying. That's just who I am as a person. I have unpopular opinions about romance novels. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brianna and this is 4 Paws in a Book. I make book and lifestyle related content, so if that's something that you're interested in, make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Today we are going to read an entire series of books. Well, technically, I guess we're going to read 3 of the books. I already read this one. I read this book back in April of 2022, and then I own the whole book. I bought this whole series of books together, and then I only read this one. I only gave this one 3.5 stars. I think a lot of the problems behind it, though, are because it was a marriage on the rocks trope, which is one of my least favorite tropes in, like, all of romance. So we're going to read these other ones and see if I like them better. My biggest problem with reading is that I start series and then I leave these ones on my shelf. I am realizing that there's still half-price books stickers on here. Don't worry about it. Anyways, my biggest problem is starting series and not finishing them. So I'm trying to start a series on my channel where I will finish series or at least get caught up to date, however it works. We're going to try to do one of these a month. I tried to do it in January and it just didn't work. It did not work. That video might come out later. I'm not really sure. We'll see how it goes. But anyways, because I filmed like half of it. Just wouldn't actually be marathoning it. We are going to read these 3 books in this video. I'm going to try to binge them and read the entire series like maybe in a week or a weekend or something like that. So let's talk about this series. That way, if you're interested in picking them up, maybe I can help you. This book is about a baseball player who finds out that his wife has been faking orgasms their entire marriage. She ends up leaving because of like a whole big fight and spat about it. And he is trying everything he can do to get her back, win her back, that kind of thing. And by everything, I do mean that he will go to a book club where they are reading romance books to try to learn what women want. And yeah, this was like a good time. Like I said, I gave it 3.5 stars. Not my favorite romance for sure, but I think that a lot of people really liked it. And so it's probably a me problem. The second one dives a little bit into this romantic suspense subgenre. So Undercover Bromance is about a woman who witnesses her boss sexually harassing another employee. And so then she tries to catch him, basically get him arrested, that kind of thing. And the main love interest is also trying to help because he in a roundabout way ended up was the reason why she got fired from the job, is a whole thing. So there's a little bit of a suspense thrillery element to this. We'll see how we like that. Okay, now that I've taken the stickers off of these 2, the next one is Crazy Stupid Romance, and this is a friends to lovers, which is my favorite subgenre or trope in romance. So I'm hoping that I really love this one. And this is about 2 friends, they've been friends forever, but they've kind of friend zoned themselves. She was actually one of the victims in the sexual harassment case in the previous book. I'm sure that there's going to be a ton of mutual pining, angst, all that goes into a friends to lovers romance. And then the 4th one that I'll be reading is Isn't It Romantic? And this one is about the Russian, which I think universally is a favorite character in the series. And everyone was very excited when he got his own book. And this one is a marriage of convenience. And how he's using the book club to try to learn how to love his wife, even though it was a marriage of convenience kind of thing. That can be a really well done trope. There technically is a 5th book in this series. It's a very merry romance. I don't want to read a Christmas romance in February, so we're not going to do that. We're just going to read these 4 for this. So I will be vlogging. So without further ado, let's get into the vlog. So I meant to update you at the about 30% mark of Undercover Bromance, but I listened to from 20%, right about 20%, and now I'm at 63%, and I've just been listening to it while I've been driving around this morning. So oops. We're just gonna update you now. I'm actually very much enjoying this. I don't know really what trope it kind of fits into. I know it's kind of supposed to be enemies to lovers, but I don't think it really is. I definitely feel like it's more friends to lovers, but it's friend of friend to lover. Does that make sense? But it's just
two very independent people, two people that like really have a lot of walls up, and slowly but surely they're breaking each other's walls down. And I vibe with that. So I'm having a good time. Also, she is a pastry chef. There's a lot of talk of food, and I think they're doing that really well. It's hit or miss for me sometimes with like food romances, but I think that they're doing this one pretty well. And then also like there is this outside force that is like also making the two of them get together, if that makes sense. I'm trying to like not to spoil things. Essentially what happens, like the kind of like kickoff of this is that she saw her boss sexually harass an employee, and he was friends-ish, more like acquaintances, like just colleagues with that boss. And so they're like both trying to take him down and like trying to, you know, make him like pay for what he's doing. So the outside force of driving them together is another person, right? It's not, the story is not just the two people trying to figure out how to be a couple. There is this other element to the story, this other person that is involved in like getting these two characters together. Not intentionally, obviously, like he's not trying to get the two people together, but like because of the fact that they have a common enemy, essentially, they are getting closer. I'm having a good time. I will finish this book today, and I'm so glad that the series is like picking up. I was a little bit worried because I didn't love Bromance Book Club that much, but I do really, really like this one. So stay tuned.
All right, I'm here because I finished Undercover Bromance. I actually finished it on the flight home, and I'm giving it 4 stars. I do think that the ending is kind of ridiculous, as most romantic suspense-leaning novels are. But I think a lot of what I said before still really holds true. And I really, really liked Mac and Liv. They are a couple that just makes sense together. And you need that in a romance, right? Like, so you have to be fighting for the two characters. You have to be rooting for this romance in order for a romance to work. And I think that I enjoyed that. One of the other things that I really liked about this book, because in the first book, there is a lot of talk of the actual like historical romance novel. Like there's actual literal chapters from the book. And this one doesn't do that. And I didn't like it in this one. I thought that the like, and it could be just because it was like a historical romance, it just felt really over the top and just kind of like took you out of the story. And so for this one not to really focus on the like the book that the book club was reading and more in like the real world, I did like that. Like we talked about the book that they were reading, but we didn't have like actual like the words on the page from the book that they were reading. And honestly, I kind of liked that. Maybe it's just because like the other one was historical and I didn't enjoy that one as much. But for what it's worth, that probably made me enjoy it a little bit more. But yes, I did like this one better than the first one, which I think is actually an unpopular opinion. I was looking at some of the reviews and I think that most people liked Bromance Book Club and didn't like this one as much. But like, that's just who I am as a person. I have unpopular opinions about romance novels and which one in the series is better about pretty much every single romance novel series that I've read. I'm always the unpopular opinion. So why are we surprised? At its core, the reason I probably like this one better than the first one is just the marriage on the rocks tropes is not a favorite trope of mine. With that said, let's move on to Crazy Stupid Romance.
Hello, I'm getting ready to film, and so I thought I would touch base with you guys because I am about 35% of the way through Crazy Stupid Romance. That's the third one. Crazy Stupid Romance. And it's a friends to lovers trope, which I thought I was going to really like. Obviously, like if you've been around my channel for any length of time, you know that is one of my favorite tropes, probably my favorite trope. And I am enjoying it, but there's like, it's not really the friends to lovers part of the book that I don't like. Part of it is, I don't know. There's this like outside force, which I kind of talked about in Undercover Romance, that I liked that part about it because it was drawing the two people closer together. But this one really isn't. Like they're doing their own separate things. And essentially she finds out who her dad is because her dad needs a kidney and they get back in touch. And like
she's trying to like wrestle with those feelings that like her dad abandoned her before she was even born. And now he's like coming back into her life 30 years later, wanting a kidney. And so like there's just a lot of like complicated emotions, and she's not letting Noah in on the in on her life and her decisions. And then on top of that, like literally, I mean, there's definitely mutual pining for sure, but like to a fault. Like they both have the exact same feelings, but neither one will do anything about it. And then like they just assume the worst when one person does do something about it and it doesn't go exactly the way as planned, which I think like is definitely a staple in the friends to lovers subgenre, trope, whatever. It's understandable, right? Like especially when they had been friends like for so long, that there are like hesitations to going into it. So like totally get it, right? But I'm finding it just annoying that I'm like, we would not have the miscommunication problems that we are having right now if you would just sit down and talk to each other. So it's one of those things like in real life, yeah, I get it. It makes sense that you're not talking to each other. But as a book, I'm like, please talk to each other. That's all I want in life. But yeah, that's where I'm at so far. I am enjoying the narrator for all of these books. I think that he's doing a really good job. And it is interesting that like, because I always think most romance novels, even though they can be dual POV, they tend to be narrated by a woman, and I like the choice that it's being narrated by a man, even the female point of views, because it's third person. So it makes sense. It works. That's all I got for you right now. I will talk to you later. Okay, I need to make this quick because the Air Force Base is doing like flight paths right above our house, so it's gonna get loud in a minute. I'm trying to like time this out. But I finished Crazy Stupid Bromance, and I'm giving it 3.5 stars, but like it's a low 3.5 stars, like maybe even closer to a 3. It's fine. I just felt like the romance, like third act part resolved, and then like we had this other like family drama thing that was very much like more reminiscent of like women's fiction and lit fic than it was romance, and I didn't care about that part of the story. I don't think that it added anything to it. I don't think that it like enhanced the plot at all. So once we were done with like, the romance type of like third act breakup, I was like, all right, we're done. I'm checked out. And I don't know that it ever resolved very well. It's 3.5 stars. And I'm questioning my rating because I'm like acting like a 3.5 star is not good. And it was still a good book. It was still a good story. I read it very quickly. I was invested in the story the whole time. It was never like about me wanting to like put the book down at all. Like, I don't know. Like I'm making it sound like it wasn't good, but there it is. Hold on. So I'm making it sound like it's not, it wasn't good. The book wasn't good, and it was. The story was good. But it wasn't my favorite for sure, which is disappointing, I think, more than anything else, because I went into it with very high expectations with it being a friends to lovers romance, and I wanted all of this mutual pining. And like I said before, there wasn't that much. There wasn't a lot of this like angst and mutual pining, because every single time we'd like tried to have angst, if I was just like, well, if you would just talk, because the other person is showing signs that they're interested in you. It didn't fit in a friends to lovers situation. So, all right, well, on to book 4. Hello, we are on to our last book. Isn't it romantic? And this one is about Vlad, the Russian. He is a hockey player, so we're really diving back into a sports romance, which I love. There's just something about sports romances for me that they do it. Normally I prefer the football romances, but I do have a lot of fun with the hockey ones too, even though I don't watch hockey. Sorry, you have a really bad glare with my glasses, but I'm like trying to work. This one, if you look on Goodreads, the comments and the reviews on this one are that this one is a miss for a lot of people, and they don't like this one. And oddly enough, or like maybe not oddly, because this is just a trend at this point with romance series, this one I think might be my favorite so far. I mean, like, again, I'm only about halfway through it, but I'm having a good time. I love Vlad. I love Elena. Yes, there are some miscommunication tropes, but I think that the author has been really setting them up well, to the point where, like, it makes sense why she's not talking to him, and it makes sense why he's not talking to her. Like, they have these barriers in place, that it's understandable why we're not communicating. And here's the thing, I can deal with miscommunication if you set it up, like, there's a reason why we're not communicating. If it's just that, like, oh, I'm afraid he won't take it well, like, that's not a good reason. But this one, I think, is setting it up well. I'm having a good time. Are we surprised? No. Because at this point, I think every single romance series that I have read, my favorite one has been everyone else's least favorite. I will hopefully finish this one up today, and I will come back to you and we'll wrap up this whole project. I can't talk very well today because I think I'm getting sick, and my voice is just starting to go. So, love that for me. All right, I'll talk to you later.
Hello. I am very sick. Can't talk for very long, so that's fun. But I have finished Isn't It Bromantic? I finished it last night on some sprints, and I'm going to be giving it 4 stars, but I think it's a higher 4 stars than Undercover Bromance. I think that this is my favorite of the series. And I kind of already talked about how, like, I, apparently like the unpopular books. I love Vlad and Elena. I love their chemistry. I think they're adorable. And I think Vlad is such a sweet teddy bear. He's an adorable little teddy bear. He thinks that he's this big tough Russian. But he's not. He's not. He is too pure for this world. Sorry, you hear dogs in the background today. They're all locked inside because it's raining and snowing. So anyways, I've finished the series. This is very much out of order. But I finished the series, and I think that that's, an accomplishment. I've talked about the fact that I want to finish a bunch of series this year, and I think that this is a perfect way for me to be able to do that, because it kind of forces me to just binge a series. And at least for this one, I think that that was a good way to do it. I do think that there were some issues with, trying to remember who different characters were, specifically Alexis and Liv in the second and third book, which are the women in these 2 books. And when I was reading Isn't It Bromantic, I was having a hard time remembering which one was Alexis and which one was Liv, compared to, who was paired up with Noah and Matt. I think that was the only thing that I had an issue with this entire series. So, that's good. So let's talk about rankings, because I kind of have said that I'm a little bit unpopular. I think Isn't It Bromantic is my favorite. Then Undercover Romance, because they both got 4 stars. But I think that Isn't It Bromantic and is a little bit better than Undercover Romance. The ending of this one is just ridiculous. That is true. And then these ones both got 3.5 stars. So overall, pretty good series. I'm happy with that. I actually think, surprise of all surprises, I think Bromance Book Club is a little bit better than Crazy Stupid Bromance, which I thought this one would be my favorite, because this is the friends to lovers trope. And so for it to be the least favorite of the 4 is surprising. So there's my rankings of that. 4, 2, 1, 3. But with that said, this is a series in the books. Let me know down in the comments below a series that you want me to binge. I have a couple of series planned out, but I don't have set dates and stuff for them. So let me know if there's a series that that you want me to read, because it's maybe it'll happen. I don't know. We'll see. That is all I have for you today. If you are new here and you have not yet subscribed, there's a little red button that you can do so down below the video. If you'd like to hang out with me more, the links to my Instagram, Goodreads, Twitter, and my Patreon are linked in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.